Hello, my name is Johnny, and I support horror. Recently, I watched a refreshingly fun and clever horror film called The Cleansing Hour that's streaming, I believe, on a couple different platforms. But before we get into this review, I have a couple questions for you, horror fam. What do you get when you have a false prophet, demons, lies upon lies, and streaming access to millions of people across the globe? Hell on earth, my friends. Let's talk about it. The Cleansing Hour is a horror movie written and directed by Damien Levesque. Aaron Horowitz is credited with the story and the screenplay as well. This is a feature-length film based on a short with the same name that Damien and Aaron both wrote together back in 2016. Childhood friends Max and Drew are part of a popular live stream show called The Cleansing Hour, where Father Max exorcises a possessed person each episode. Now, what most of the viewers don't know is that these exorcisms are fake with hired actors. And like most influencers, Father Max is obsessed with followers and drawing a big crowd and just growing his audience as big as possible by any means necessary. One day, after an actor doesn't show up on set, Drew's fiance Lane decides to step in and act like she's being exorcised by Father Max. But what starts out as acting ends up being very real. Now Father Max and Drew have a demon on their hands while live streaming to the entire world. Now they must do whatever it says to save their lives, even if it means exposing everything. Now, before you start watching this film, I recommend you getting in the right mindset. Take this movie for what it is, just pure entertainment. They aren't trying to reinvent the wheel on possession movies. Yes, there are some cliches here where we see some familiar horror tropes, and yes, there is some cheese, but I am telling you, it's a fun watch. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with using the same tropes, because honestly, I like the overall environment that they created here. So first off, what I feel makes this movie a fun watch is the character of Father Max. Now, this dude is just one big eye roll. He's sleazy, he's narcissistic, he's a con artist, but I wouldn't say he's unlikable as a character. He's such a douche that you just can't help but laugh at how self-involved he is. And we do get a bit of a backstory where we find out why he is the way he is, and that humanizes him some. It's funny to watch him be all serious and demanding while he's performing these exorcism on these actors, as the audience that's tuning in thinks that it's real. But that's one thing I didn't really buy in this. From what I saw, because they do cuts of people watching The Cleansing Hour on their iPhones and tablets and stuff, these people believe that it's real. They weren't laughing, and the look on their faces just seemed like what they were watching was accurate. Seems to me like most viewers of the show would just think that it's pure entertainment and wouldn't get duped, but that doesn't seem like the case here. And in the middle of the show, Father Max would peddle his merch, like towels and holy water that comes straight from the Vatican. Vatican approved, a big graphic would come on screen. People are really buying this shit and thinking it's from the Vatican when he makes the holy water, like what, in his bathtub, in his sink? So yeah, there's plenty of cheesy humor like that, including some of the deaths. But I did appreciate more of the dark and morose aspects of The Cleansing Hour. For one, the environment, the set of The Cleansing Hour. That helped keep somewhat of a dark tone throughout, even when things got a little silly. Lots of creepy imagery on the wall, like a million crosses and paintings. It was very dim and looked like they were in some sort of a small warehouse. Again, perfect creepy environment for the show. It's a completely controlled environment too. Drew is the producer of the show, and at any moment he can have something fly off the shelf. He can have smoke emerge from the chair that the actor is sitting in. He can flicker the lights. They are in complete control in what happens with the show. What's great about this story is that about 50 minutes in, all of that control is gone. Once this demon emerges, Father Max and Drew are no longer running the show. This evil being that is possessed Lane, Drew's fiance, is. And I like how now there's a sense of urgency. I don't want to give any big spoilers in this movie, but I'll just say that Father Max now has to come to terms with who he really is, or a lot of people are going to die. It's here where the host of the show kind of switches from Father Max over to this demon who has possessed Lane. And I have to say, the actress that played Lane, I believe Alex Angelus did a fairly good job at acting possessed. I think what helped her position in this was that this wasn't a completely serious movie. So even if some of her movements seemed corny and maybe the dialogue was a little bit cheesy, because there is some cheesy dialogue moments in this, it just worked in my opinion. And I just said cheesy and corny in the same sentence. This demon inside of Lane helped keep the conflicts going in this movie. Like for instance, it tried to drive Father Max and Drew, best friends, away from one another. If you know anything about demons or the devil, at least biblically, they come with all of these evil traits, of course. The main traits are lying to you, stealing your joy, distracting you, and trying to create chaos. That's exactly what this thing does, and yes, we've seen it a bunch in other movies, but I still appreciated it. Also, the touch on internet culture was a nice take in this movie. At times during the live stream, they'd show all the comments popping up in the corner, some from trolls, which was pretty funny because that's just like in real life, always people trolling comments. And I like how they touched on the fact that most of us can't go very long without looking at our phones, watching some type of content. It's like we'd rather just immerse ourselves into the digital world rather than have simple human interactions. YouTube channel. As for the effects in this movie, I have to say that the parts with CGI wasn't the best, so it kind of took you out of the movie because of how fake it looked. But there was some really cool, ooey gooey practical effects. I'm glad they didn't rely heavily on CGI, and I mean, as die-hard horror fans, the most I've seen, we like some good old practical effects. Not to completely discredit CGI. I know there's fans of it, and I'm sure there's some really cool movies with some great CGI. I just prefer practical effects. Other than the practical effects, I also just thought that the pacing of the movie was good. It was fluid, kept things moving, and at the end of the movie, you see that the demon who has possessed Lane has a bigger play in mind, more than just possessing her. So make sure to watch the credits. It doesn't completely end until the credits are done rolling. So if you are up for a clever and modern take on a possession film that doesn't take itself too serious, I do recommend you watching The Cleansing Hour, and it's streaming right now on Amazon Prime and Shudder. And I will leave you with that, horror fam. Thank you so much for coming by and watching my review of The Cleansing Hour. If you like this video, I hope you give it a thumbs up. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, I hope you do so right now to get more content and awesome videos. And let's be friends to the end, people. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at The Horror Hack. Once again, my name is Johnny. Keep supporting horror, and this has been one hack of a show.